So I liked Jude's character a lot.
It
Man.
was,
I think
he's a great character.
I think he was I think he was like the most interesting part of the show.
Definitely.
You know, the villain in a sense, I think to the I guess of the kids of the protagonist,
Yeah.
he is definitely the villain.
Mm.
But I think he had the most interesting story and the most interesting arc in this
Definitely.
show. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not to, try to be argumentative or whatever, but yeah, hearing his stories, kind of resolution or hearing more about his story, yeah, because he doesn't really change that much, from beginning to end. So, but I mean, that's not the point. I know what you're saying.
I get what you're saying. As far
as
like changing, not so much, but at least.
But no, his story was the best.
I think was the best
of
one,
all the characters.
Yeah,
definitely.
the most I was interested in. Yeah,
right. Yeah,
and he pretty much stayed the same. He's a shithead the whole time.
Yeah. And I honestly, I was hoping at some point they're going to reveal that maybe he was a Sith.
Oh yeah,
that he was just a lazy Sith. Like, I've been trained in the the dark side of the Force. Doesn't mean I got to go out and be a Sith, try to murder people every chance I get. I don't do that stuff. I just want to be a pirate. I just want to get some money and have some fun.
Right. Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that he was gonna when we did see a lightsaber, because I figured at some point that was going to be coming. Mm-hmm. I was hoping he was going to do that and it was going to be red. I was going to be like,
yes.
But, taking all that into account, because like you said, because he is such a scoundrel.
Yeah.
It's like, man, you're no Jedi at all. Like,
exactly.
I see you doing all the stuff and you're moving the stuff and taking your cuffs off, but you are no Jedi.
Yeah, you're just using it for your,
right. I was hoping,
benefit,
but what they ended up doing makes the character so much more interesting.
Yeah.
So, and I know there's been talk about, will we get a season 2 of Skeleton Crew or whatever? And at first I was thinking like, what, these kids are going to get back together and go on another adventure, another space romp.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I don't know. There's probably some way to do it, obviously, but I was thinking like, I don't know, but. Like getting into, Jod's the mystery of, and it's not even such a mystery, but just like hearing his story or seeing his story.
Yeah.
Could be really interesting, and seeing the story of this, woman that was teaching him.
Yeah. That'd
because
be great,
they even said too, or he said that they killed her and they made him watch.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really twisted. It's not like she, they got her, they jumped her, or they found her, and it sounded like said made him watch. That wasn't like he was hiding somewhere and saw it happen. Like they made him like look what we're doing.
Yeah, true.
And I don't know how he got away, but
who knows?
Yeah, super interesting.
The story there. Yeah,
it's a great story. Like some semi-trained, partially trained, Jedi. You can't even call him a Jedi.
Yeah, he wasn't even in the order. He was
wasn't in the order.
Force sensitive kid that happened to run into a Jedi on the run. Yeah, was able to learn some of the skills. But yeah.
As far as some other likes, I didn't hate these kids as much as I thought I would. I've said it numerous times, and I'll say it again.
You hate kids.
I hate kids. They're the worst. Like in movies and that kind of thing. And they definitely had some moments where they were a little annoying.
Very, very kiddish.
Very kiddish.
Very tropey when it comes to kids.
Very tropey. And I'm like, I hate seeing like, kids talk to or deal with adults at, like they're on the same level kind of thing. Like it drives me nuts. But I kind of understood it. Like there was a part where I think in the second episode or maybe the third, they were trying to get back to the ship before the X-Wings arrived.
Oh, yeah.
That owl lady called them.
Oh, yeah.
There's an owl lady, everybody. You haven't seen it yet. Before the X-Wings showed up, and they were like, before we get on the ship, you tell us what's going on. And so I get it, because, like, you're traveling with us, and we don't know if we've got, like, some sort of predator on the show or on the ship with us. And, like, the girl pushes them before he gets on board, and it's like, dude, just like force push these fools out of the way, get on the ship.
Yeah.
But so that kind of stuff, like typically it annoys me, but I think there was enough of the kids being kids that I liked. And you see that throughout the show where they make mistakes. I like that that girl, she was the captain.
Oh yeah.
And
Fern.
he challenged Fern, thank you. And Jod challenges her for the captainship. And of course you lost.
Yeah.
Like it would have been stupid if she,
had some kind of trick and
right. It's like, and
them.
I hate seeing that kind of stuff, but in the show they did it right. And then even she's at a point where she knows she's going to lose. Like, I'm just a kid.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't care. You know,
Right, yeah.
I need to be the captain. So there were some, the kids in that they were done well, or good enough at least.
Yeah.
And I think they're all fine actors. They all did a good job.
Yeah, they felt like kids.
They really felt like
Making
kids.
kid
They were doing
yeah.
a lot of kid stuff. You know, they were worrying about school and tests and all this kind of stuff. And
calling claimsies on everything, and
that's
a kid thing to do.
That was a very kid thing to do. So I got that. It annoyed me on some level, but at the same time, but that's what kids would do. Yeah, they would do the whole, claimsy, unclaimsy. I call it, I claim it, and no boys allowed.
Oh yeah,
all that kind of silly stuff. But it's like, I probably did something similar to that when I was a kid, or I had these rules.
Yeah,
there are these rules when you are a preteen.
Yeah, the kid hierarchy.
There's a hierarchy, right? And it's like you forgot it now once you become, or you forget it once you become older. But if you think back to it, it's like, I think I probably did say dumb crap like exactly. that. And it's like, and to them it makes sense, but to me it's like, this
is not important, kids.
It's not important.
But it's important to them though, yeah.
Yeah. So what else? I noticed too, like SM, what's the name? SM33. Yeah. Did you see that? Like that basically says SME. Like from,
I didn't realize that from Peter Pan.
From Peter Pan, yeah. The only reason I realized it, I think, was because I have the subtitles were on. I don't know. I didn't turn them on. They just kind of popped up on automatically. And when they said, like, somebody saying something, it was SM33, and I was like,
just two backwards E's.
Oh, you son of a bitch. It was Smee. And that's what Smee was. Like the right-hand man of the captain kind of thing.
I just can't stop doing the Peter Pan references. I think that there wasn't a character that was dressed like Smee in Mandalorian Season 3. Yeah, there's like, because there's that seaweed pirate guy, a seaweed.
I think there I forgot about that. But I remember thinking that. So, but I haven't watched Season 3.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was dressed like Smee. Because I think I was like a big why are there these seaweed? Why is Davy Jones in this show? But like a seaweed version, and then then he had this like striped shirted like side character like right hand man like looked just like Smee. So like man, they just can't let the Peter Pan references go in this.
Man, well, I guess they're gonna do something pirated Disney. The executives were like,
we need more pirates.
Put some Peter Pan pirates in here.
Yeah.
Peter Pan pirates were punks. Put them in there.
Yeah.
Put them in there. Put Smee in there at least.
There are many references to Smee as you can make. Do it.
All these rewrites. They need more. They want more. There's 28 in one episode.
Make a character named Eames next. Just Smee backwards.
And nobody will ever notice.
Yep, nobody will ever notice.
That'll be something for the scholars to figure out later. Right. Any other positives you can think of?
Not necessarily. That's pretty much straightforward.
Yeah, like I said, I mean the kids are always the test, and the kids have a great rapport. I was watching an interview with them, outside of the show, just them.
Yeah,
and they've got a great relationship.
Good chemistry seemed like.
The chemistry was fantastic amongst them.
I bet they probably had fun on set. Those kids.
You would think. You would think. Yeah, and they said they did. I mean, they're not going to say otherwise, but
right. Yeah, but I can't imagine being a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid being on a Star Wars set.
Right.
I'm sure it's fun a lot of the time.
Yeah, and I think it helps too. I mean, if you are already a fan of Star Wars, everybody knows what Star Wars is, but I mean, for you and I. Being little kids and, into Star Wars and hey, you want to be in a Star Wars show? It's like, hell yeah, let's go. So, but there's been so much stuff that's come out. Like when these kids were born, these kids are, I don't know, like maybe 13-ish.
Yeah, at most,
maybe. So 13 years ago, like what was out as far as Star Wars was concerned? Like anything good? Anything, the last thing was the prequels.
Yeah, if they were born, 10, 12 years ago?
2000, let's say 2007 or 2000. No, not even that.
So
like
2000, their first Star Wars would probably be
2010,
Force Awakens, because that came out
in 2005 or 2015.
2015. So
they would have been 5 or something.
So I think the Revenge of the Sith came out. Revenge of the Sith? Yeah, Revenge of the Sith. Return of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith, right?
Probably Revenge.
Yeah, that came out in like 2008. I think 2007, 2008.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah.
So their first big Star Wars release would have been Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Because nothing else happened after Revenge of the Sith.
Right. Yeah. Disney didn't, buy it and destroy it. Yeah.
Yeah, not the time. And then they ended up buying it.
Disney, everything they buy turns to gold. Marvel and Star Wars.
Yep.
You're batting them. Yeah. Knock them out of the park.
Nope. All wins.
All wins. But that, I'm actually saying that, I will say that this show has been, it's been a win. I think this is a win for Disney as far as putting out content is concerned. I think.
Yeah.
But I heard it wasn't doing that great as far as ratings are concerned.
Ratings wise, yeah. Or views.
Or views. Yes,
no one's watching it, which is the issue.
Yeah, and I think this is worth watching. I think it's a fun show. It's a good show. It takes place. It's almost like the Star Wars Christmas special in a sense. It's like it's not part of the main Star Wars story, at least right now.
So far, yeah.
So far,
and these characters probably
not going to have any sort of real
impact on any of the major.
They shouldn't. But you never know. But it's still an interesting story, interesting world, and there's always been these outliers of Star Wars content. Like they had again, Christmas special. They've had the Ewok show or
cartoon
Ewok,
or something like that.
Yeah, they did cartoons as well at some point.
Like
Those
a
weren't
droid
great,
cartoon.
but they did them. Yeah, they did. Yeah, droids and Ewoks. I remember it because they showed them together. I was like. I was so not interested.
Yeah,
I was so not interested. I'm like, where is Luke and his lightsaber? Every time I tune in, I was like,
I don't care.
This is so boring. I don't get it. I don't get it.
But yeah, that is a good part about that show. About this show is that it doesn't rely on really any.
Anything part of the main.
Yeah, obviously it's in Star Wars. There's a force sensitive character that wasn't really a Jedi, but it was trained by a Jedi. Yeah. There's some connections in there, but it's not like, oh, he was Luke's friend.
Exactly.
Or he was Anakin's friend,
Right.
It's not like that. It's not like a tie into the Skywalkers or not a tie into any of the main things. It's just like a story that happened in this corner of the galaxy.
Yeah.
And within the Star Wars universe. Right. And that's more of that, please. Like give me more of that. Like give me because it's a big place. The galaxy's huge, man, and there are so many events that have gone on over the thousands and thousands of years. 50,000 years of the Star Wars universe, or whatever the timeline is. There's a lot in there that you can explore. We can get other stories of just as engaging characters that aren't necessarily tied into the main things. Right. So that's a plus, I think, for this show. That it definitely did that.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that.
I think. Oh, good.
I was gonna say I don't remember. I feel like I don't remember. No. You were okay with Andor. You didn't care so much for Rogue One. I know, but Andor you're okay
Loved
with.
Andor.
That's a good story, right?
That's a great story. Yeah.
So Andor is a great story, and this, and again, it is a kid's story, but it's still a good story. Still a great story. If I had to weigh the two, I would go Andor, but I'm not. But that's not taking anything away from Skeleton Crew. I feel like there's so much bad blood at this point in time.
That's the big topic of discussion is that I think there's just been so many turnoffs for Star Wars, like so many things. It's like, hey man, we've been hurt so many times as fans.
Exactly. How many times can you reach out for something and a hand comes down and slap you?
Exactly.
Like, when are you going to stop reaching out?
Right. Yeah. So I think with the sequel trilogy, no one really liked those. Mandalorian 1 and 2 were good, but Season 3 was bad. Boba Fett was bad. Obi-Wan was bad. Ahsoka was lukewarm. So there's a lot of Andor was good, but so there's a lot of and then the Acolyte I think was the nail in the coffin. A lot of everybody didn't like no one liked the Acolyte. And if you did, cool.
Yeah. If you liked it, don't let anybody tell you otherwise. If you enjoyed it, you enjoyed it.
Exactly.
That's the end.
That's all that matters. Nobody's opinion matters about past that. But I think with Star Wars fans, what most of us like, we haven't gotten that, and to have been just disappointed for so long with so many projects, and then to throw this kind of random Skeleton Crew thing that nobody really knows anything about, doesn't tie into anything. I think it's hard to get those fans back. Because so many people have been turned off. Even from Rise of the Skywalker at the end of the sequel trilogy, how many people were just like, I'm done, man. Fuck Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to stay a fan when the content you're getting out isn't good. So I think it's going to take a long time to try to win people over.
Right.
And putting out Skeleton Crew, I think, was just bad timing or at a bad point in Star Wars. And so I think the viewership just wasn't there. It just did not do well. nobody watched it.
Yeah. And I'm hoping maybe, well, I got to hope two things. One, I hope I feel like I haven't heard anybody say that they didn't like Skeleton Crew. They thought it was bad or anything like that.
Yeah, I haven't either.
And I think, again, when you look at it, because it's a kid's show, basically. I mean, the kids aren't going to die. There's not going to be any sort of real consequences.
Yeah. Like freaking Smee, 33, he's died 7 times. And he just came right back. He's like, just good to go every time.
Right, every time.
Yeah.
He's got a rat in his head.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so there's not going to be any sort of real, consequences or anything like that. But I think hopefully with the word of mouth with this show, it's not going to get people to like jump right back into Star Wars necessarily.
Yeah.
But maybe it's going to say, okay, they did something. They've done a lot of stuff in the past that wasn't great. I've been turned off. I've heard a lot of good things about this. With the next thing that comes out, maybe people are going to say, okay, well, let me see what they do now.
Oh, yeah.
Because they had a win here. In my opinion, anyway, I think it's a win. Let's see what happens next. But that's the second thing. That means you got to produce a win on your next thing.
The next one's got to be a hit.
Right. Or it's going to be right back to they just can't do it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. It's got to be like Mandalorian level. Like it's got to be a big hit.
It's got to be something. It's got to be something good. I don't know what they have next on the docket.
I think Andor season 2 is coming out in April.
Okay.
That's the
okay.
next
So that should
one.
be.
Yeah.
Unless they really just.
Unless they're just like, oh, everyone liked the first one. Let's do something different.
Yeah. Also, we did that one. Right. Let's not do that.
So, because I think Andor season 3 season 1 is one of the best Star Wars things we've gotten in years. And
right.
So,
especially since Disney's had their hands on it. Right.
So I think keep that going.
Yeah.
Don't mess with that formula. You guys, you got it. You got it.
Yeah.
Just stick with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever somebody did, just just leave them alone. Let them do whatever they did again.
Yeah.
Let them keep that going.
As the kids say, let them cook.
Let them. Yeah, that's what the kids say. That's what the kids say.
But yeah, So any negatives, real quick, before you?
Not so many. I gave it a few. I looked at it differently again because it's a kids movie. I think I said that about the Goonies. There's, in my opinion, there's a certain way to look at certain products. You can't look at them all the same. So I gave it more of a pass. I realize this is a kids thing. It is a kids show. That doesn't mean adults can't enjoy it, obviously, but it is. They have their core demographic that they're aiming for.
Yeah,
and I thought the kids were done well. Yeah, as far as negatives are concerned, not that many, in all honesty. All right, I can't even really think of any. Maybe because I gave it a little bit of a pass. You have some negatives? Like, say something negative.
I mean, like, so, like, it's not really anything against the show itself. It's just not for me. I don't have. Like, I don't have kids.
Okay.
I'm not a kid.
Yeah.
So, like, a kid show just doesn't appeal to me.
Okay,
right?
very good.
And so there's a lot of like Goonie stuff, a lot of kids stuff, a lot of kids arguments, a lot of kid dialogue. I kind of got tired of the Fern character, like the wanting to be the captain. I got like annoyed. I was like, you're like not like you're a kid,
right?
Yeah.
I understood it because she was the alpha within that group of kids, those 4 kids. She was the one that was more bold. She was the, stronger, mentally. I don't know. She was more, like
assertive,
I said, she was more assertive. That, is a good way to put it. She had, less apprehension. So it made sense. Like, I get that because at some point, like, I think the only kid that didn't get annoying for me was Neil.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. He was like, I was like, I feel like I would be annoyed by that kid the most, but he was like the least. He was the most like a kid. He was like the most normal kid out of all of them. Like, this is what a kid would act like. This is what would happen. Yeah. And he's scared of everything. That's what a kid's like.
Right.
I'm scared of everything now. Shit. It's more relatable than anything. Yeah.
So each one of the kids at some point got a little bit, was kind of like poking at that exposed nerve for me at some level, but not enough for me to like to throw the show under the bus necessarily, or I still accepted them as like, okay, let me calm down a little bit, let the kids be kids. Kind of thing. So carry on.
Yeah, that's fair. I understand that, like, more now looking outside in, like with the whole Goonies episode, like like being less critical about that side of it. Like I understand what the show's marketed for. I bet you my nephew would probably really enjoy the show.
I'm sure.
Like, if I got my dumb brother to start watching Star Wars content with his kid, then maybe
he wrote our theme song. Don't you call him?
Yeah.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Not on my watch.
Yeah. I'm sorry. There's more to the world than freaking Beyonce and Bruno Mars and Coco Melon.
Don't you listen to him.
There's more to the world than that. There's other stuff out there.
Beyonce, Bruno Mars, Coco Melon.
I'm trying to figure out, I don't know, Bluey or whatever the kids watch. There's more to the world than those things. There's Marvel, there's DC, there's all of the other stuff, the Star Wars.
Yes.
So my nephew needs to be more exposed to that. There's rock and roll. I mean, Jesus Christ, man.
You're exposing your nephew.
Yeah,
okay, I got you.
My nephew. So there's other things that he can be seeing, and that would be a thing for him. Would be this show. I think he'd really enjoy it.
Definitely. Yeah,
this is good for him. But again, like as a Star Wars fan, as an adult Star Wars fan, there's not much for me to take out of it. I mean, there was Jude, there was. The mystery parts were cool, but they're like the in between dialogue. It's like with the Marvel movies or those kind of there's so much of the little kid comedy quote unquote moments or the arguing, the bickering.
That's more annoying than it is clever. Or
there's only so much of it that I can take as an adult, right?
No, I can't argue with that.
So that was just the one thing. So it's not necessarily for me. I see the value in the show and I can appreciate it, but it's not a show that I'm gonna be like Andor's for me, right?
Adult themes, I got you.
Slow burn. That's for me as a Star Wars fan. I don't know. I just wasn't paying attention, but how did Jude become the emissary? How did they accept him as the emissary? Did he just say, "Hey, I'm an emissary"?
Yeah, I think the fact that that was a little like, why are you so like? Somebody shows up at the door and says, "I'm a cop," and they're wearing t-shirts and shorts, and it's like.
Let me see your badge.
Something like help me help you. I mean, I'm not saying you're not, but tell me something here.
You don't look like it. You don't sound like it.
And the only thing I can think is because nobody goes to that planet. Nobody's ever gone to that planet. Yeah. So when somebody finally does go and is able to make it to the planet, it's like, well, and they say they're an emissary. It's like, oh well, shit, we're waiting for an emissary. So you got to be an emissari. So I mean, they do end up calling him out later, in a
supervisor
random.
knows. I guess
I was thinking more of that droid that runs the whole city was like.
Yeah, that's the supervisor, right?
Oh, okay. Okay, I was thinking of you might have meant a human person.
But, for his mom. No. I think the droid is.
He's called the supervisor. Right? Yeah, carry on. True.
I think he kind of deduced it. He's a droid. You should be able to figure that out.
Well, I mean, droids are. I mean, man, the droids in the Star Wars world are they're basically like people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They're not like these supercomputers and all that. They're just basically people, and they do dumb stuff all the time. That's more like. What's happening right now? Yeah,
actually, I can see that. Yeah. So there's that kind of was like, he kind of just showed up, and then that kind of lends to which era are we in? Like how many people in power have changed hands? So who knows about your planet, and how is the same emissary coming? If it's changed hands from the old Republic to the Empire to the New Republic. How has it stayed the same? Like, who is your emissary? Where are they coming from?
I don't think they've had an emissary in a long time. I get the impression no one's been to that planet in hundreds of years. I get that impression.
That's true. But then they're talking about we don't want to mess with your shipment or something. Do people normally ship things here? I was like, we don't. You're unloading your loading process, and they're like, so is this normal for people to come ship things here? So I was kind of like, I'm not connecting it well,
And it's a possibility that maybe people do come, because somebody knows somebody. In power somewhere knows about this planet, unless they got killed or something. But somebody, I mean, that money that is being made is, minted, is going. Well, in theory, it should be going somewhere. Maybe since the Empire fell, maybe money has not been leaving. Because all the guys that knew about it got killed or captured or whatever the case may be. And I think I heard somebody say too, maybe that's going to be the funding for how the First Order comes back into power. Oh, because there's all this money sitting there and nobody knows about it from the Republic.
Always trying to justify.
I know that's the other thing too, right? Exactly, doing all this stuff to support the dumb stuff.
Yeah,
man. And I said it in the very first Force Awakens movie, and I don't know, it didn't really click, but I remember watching it in the theater, where the movie starts off, it's like the Empire's in control again.
Yeah.
It's like,
the good guys
what?
How are the good guys the rebels?
What happened? How are the good guys rebels? Like the last thing we saw was the Empire fell, and the next movie we're seeing is the Empire's here and they're running things again. It's like, I don't know. To me, it felt like, again, and I think I said it on the previous show, it felt like lazy writing.
Yeah.
Somebody was so enamored with the whole Empire and the rebels, they wanted to write that story.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So let's just keep it going.
Yeah. Let's keep redo the same thing.
Right. And if the Empire is so bad, all right, I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to leave that alone. Carry on.
Yeah. So overall, though, I mean, I do, again, I appreciate the value of the show and I appreciate what they've done. It is a win overall. But again, just not marketed towards me, so I'm not super interested in it because it's a kids show. I'm not a kid anymore.
Yeah, and I think I can't really think of any nitpicks, but I'm sure I remember watching the episodes oh, you're doing that, or I talked about how the kids can be annoying sometimes, and that's always gonna be annoying for me. Maybe a kid watching this would probably be they would like it.
Yeah, that's how we talk.
And they probably would love to see a kid standing up to an adult kind of thing, because that's what kids.
Yeah, kids
that's what kids fantasize about. Like,
exactly.
I mean, if you think back to when you were a kid, it's you had no power, and you would imagine yourself having power, and as kids having powers, against an adult.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Or whatever.
So nice to be right.
Yeah, so it gets kind of annoying, but overall, I don't think I have too many real complaints. And I think maybe I might have a little bit of a different standard for it because I know it is, it's basically a cartoon. It's a kid's movie kind of thing. So, rating?
So I think just because I do appreciate the quality of the show, I'm probably, but I'm also tying it up with it like not being for me.
Sure, of course.
So for my personal rating, I think I'm maybe like at a 74.
Okay.
Like I think it's well made overall. I think there's a lot of good moments, some mystery moments that were cool. But overall, kids adventure. And I think it's great for kids. I'm happy that there's an entry, something now for kids to get into Star Wars. That's great. But just, not for me. Like I'm still stuck reading the old books now. That's the only content for me that I'm going to be able to get. That's for me. So that's where I'm at. I think if definitely stream it. I think if you're a Star Wars fan, or you want to watch something with your kid, I think this is check it out.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you're like not a Star, maybe. I guess even if you're not a Star Wars fan, I'm sure there's something in there you can find.
Yeah.
But I think it's more of like if you're a dad or a mom and you want to watch something Star Wars with your kids.
Yeah.
I think this is a great thing for that. I think that's probably the best.
Yeah, I think I might give it personally I might give it somewhere around an 80. But I think for just an overall picture looking at it, I might give it up to an 85.
Oh, right.
And it's because one, I think again, it's a kids program, right? Or it's a kids show.
Yeah.
So again, you're talking about Cocomelon, just as an example, right? So if I sit down and watch Cocomelon, I'm not going to be mad the motivations behind that, or you know what I mean? I'm not going to, and I know that's not what you're saying, but I'm going to look at it.
Imagine though, that's what I was saying. That's right. How I watch Cocomelon.
With the monocle in your eye. Ah, sir. Pray tell. Smoking jacket. Yeah, right, with your pipe.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
This is arbitrary.
I've never.
Yeah.
This is arbitrary. Who is your haberdasher, sir? Anyways, I think overall, I'll give it an 85 because I think one, it's a kid show. I think it works as a kid show. I think it is something like families can sit down and watch, like you're saying. And mother and father can sit down with their kids, watch this show, and hopefully both enjoy it. I mean, it's going to be more for the kids, obviously. I think the show it was done well. It was made well. The actors in it I thought were all great, and they introduced some very interesting things in Jude, and then this whole planet, these planets.
Yeah,
there's a very interesting thing that I would like to see explored. Both of those things, these planets and how they relate to the rest of Star Wars universe, and then just Jude's story. I think it's very interesting, this person that's been trained to use the Force a little bit, but not enough to really. It's never been done before. Like they've never done that. So like I said, I was thinking in absolutes. I was thinking like a Sith. He's either a Jedi or he's a Sith. I mean, but even when you're watching, you're like, there's something off with him. You know, he doesn't have like the full powers, kind of thing. So even like throughout the whole show, you can kind of glean that. So I would like to see that explored more. That broken down.
Like if he ran into Cal Kestis, he wouldn't be able to fight him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They cross paths somehow.
Right.
There's no way he would be fighting with him.
Is like, how are you not making the Cal Kestis?
Dude,
that is low hanging fruit.
The right age. He looks like him. He sounds like him because it's him.
Right. And
just
every year that goes by. Every year that goes by, you're losing it because he's getting older, he's changing. Maybe he's not going to want to do that character anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
wasting time, man.
Yeah, but exactly. But if he came across someone like Cal
an
Kestis,
actual Jedi,
he would. Yeah,
or an actual Sith.
Right. I think he would know not to mess with them because I think he's been trained enough to know, like, okay, that he's really been trained in the Force.
Yeah. But enough to impress a bunch of kids that are enamored with Jedi.
And he was basically doing parlor tricks for the most part.
Exactly.
I would love to see, what might happen with this character. Does he just use a little bit of his power that he has to be just a little bit better than everybody else? That's a great story. I'd be cool with that. Or maybe, I don't know who would train him, but maybe he decides to go into the full training and
to get better. Yeah.
Or maybe a Sith finds him, and I don't think Star Wars is gonna, or Disney Star Wars is gonna go that route because that would be good storytelling. Yeah. Like a Sith finds him and like, you're the kind of guy we want.
Right, yeah.
Like we don't care about how old you are. We'll train you right now.
Yeah.
If you want stuff, you can get stuff.
Right, yeah.
If you join the Sith.